Hello, everyone. Welcome to newstreamingnetwork.com, home of Going Solo Media and Going Bold Media, and our wonderful radio station, WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. We want to thank you for being here tonight on the Going Solo Life Transitions. This show is very unique. It's very special because it really is for those individuals that are really in the muckety muck of stuff and they're really making that transition. And so we want to really help them with all of those things. We want to do a shout out to being the #1 Internet Singles Talk Network. We want to thank you guys for listening to us. It is so appreciative. I am your host here tonight. I'm fondly called the Doyenne of Relationship Building. I'm a divorce, dating, life, and media coach. And I am just so pleased to be here with you tonight. It is wonderful, wonderful having you. But we've got to get on with our show because we've got a lot to cover. And we've got a wonderful guest, and she's waiting right here on the wing, right next to me. And I am so excited to have her. We have Kim Costa here. She's top 5% realtor, and she is the creator of the Wheelhouse Method. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that method as we move forward in the show. Our topic tonight is, should you keep the house? Finding your foundation after divorce. And that's what we're going to talk about. So often when we go through relationship loss, whether it be by death or by divorce, we're not sure what to do with our house, right? Because our house is a major, if we're going to look at it from a business standpoint, it is a major investment. But we look at it from an emotional standpoint, right? Don't we? We live in the house each and every day. We love those walls we live in. And so it's really hard for us to make the kind of decisions. So sometimes we need to have an outside person, such as Kim, to be able to talk about some of those hard-hitting questions that maybe we need to do. So welcome to the show, Kim.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
It is so great having you here. And tell us a little bit about yourself and what firm you work with.
Sure. I'm a realtor with Atlanta Fine Homes. It's a Sotheby's affiliate, Sotheby's International Realty. And I've been with them since 2018.
And what area are you?
Oh, yes. I'm in the north side of Atlanta. So really, there's some small towns called Alpharetta, Milton, and Roswell. And I live right in the middle of those three towns.
Okay, that's wonderful. Now, those of you that are listening out there, if you're saying to yourself, oh, shoot, I live in another state, I live somewhere totally away from her, don't hesitate contacting her because she can refer you to someone else that she already has vented, knows that, knows the ropes, and she can kind of help you with that. So don't think that Kim can't help you because she most certainly can. And she's been in the business for quite some time. She knows and like I said, 5%, realtor, that says a lot right there. So in the top 5. So you want to definitely reach out to her. She will know the person to contact with. So don't make that mistake thinking that you can't be helped by her, that you can. So let's talk a little bit about this. Should we keep the house? So what are some of the steps do you think that we should kind of consider as we're moving forward in this?
Well, my whole method looks at 8 areas in your lifestyle. So finance, career, romance, which will be very much affected by this situation, spirituality, friends and family, health, and so on. And so you really want to start with, what are your biggest pain points going through this process? And a lot of times there are large financial considerations. Divorce, there's a large financial consideration. Widow or widower, your financial situation may stay the same unless there's a salary that's going away. So that's a big consideration. And a lot of times people need to consider, can I afford the house? And can I upkeep the house all by myself? And I wouldn't necessarily recommend making a snap decision. I think it just takes some clarity first before you decide what you're going to do.
Right. Now, is this part of the Wheelhouse Method that you've brought on board? I'm going to put that up a little bit and we can kind of talk a little bit about that. It's a framework designed to help women navigate the major life transitions by aligning their homes with their authentic lives. And then you totally know this firsthand through your physical space. So, yeah. And I would say, men out there, if you're listening, I think Kim can help you too. So don't think that, if you're not a lady, it can't be helped. You most certainly can.
I've helped people on both sides. I'm always surprised, how many men call me I grew up with three brothers, and so I do get the men and understand, their needs and concerns as much as I do the women, and I really enjoy helping the men.
Right, right. Well, I know for a fact, I know what I've gone through, and then my son recently, he got divorced, and him and his ex, they were going back and forth on the house, what to do with the home, because it is an important asset, and so there was a lot of discussions with regard to that, and then of course the children, being not wanting to really move them from the home. And so that was also a big target area. A lot of people, I think, are going through divorce. That's one of the big issues, or widowhood. It is, you don't want to disrupt your family. You really try to want to keep that intact as much as you can. And so that was a real big factor. And so, yeah, they came up with an agreement, and it worked out. It's worked out very well for them. And I'm very proud of both of them for, putting their minds together and putting their business hats on and doing the right thing that would be for their family. So, yeah. So tell us, how do we go about doing it? We're looking at the financial structure of it. We're trying to figure out the financial part of it. And there's a lot of elements with regards to real estate. So there's not only what the house is worth today, but what it possibly be worth over a certain period of time.
Right.
Yeah. And then you also have the upkeep, as you had mentioned, how much it is upkeep going to be. And I know that there's different things that you can do. You can be creative with regards to, are you going to sell the house now? Are you going to sell it later? Someone lives in it. So can you kind of help us with some of those different scenarios? Not necessarily that this would work for any one particular person, but just throw some ideas out there that people can kind of think about, that, maybe they need to call you and talk to you a little bit more about it.
Yeah. So I think there's always different circumstances. So in the case of divorce with younger children, it might be that you want to remain in the house for at least a couple of years until they transfer to a different school, or they're going to graduate perhaps in 2 years. So perhaps one parent stays in the home for the last 2 years before that child gets into high school. They know they don't want to stay there forever or the next 10 years, but perhaps they coincide that with, the graduation of that child. Another thing to consider is, taxes, home maintenance, HOA dues. So there's not only the mortgage, if you have one, but there's all those other fees that perhaps two working folks were helping to handle prior to the going solo episode. Right. And so you really have to consider what did my finances look like before, and who was contributing what. But then also, now that this change has happened, how does that affect me financially? How does that affect me keeping up the home? Did somebody always cut the yard, and now that's going to cost you, $200 a month, et cetera. And so I think, that, and just purely the financial aspect of it is that, how you see staying or leaving the home. And then also, there are various rooms in the home that perhaps one person used, but another didn't use. And so do you need all the space anymore? Or would you be better off downsizing a little bit and simplifying to perhaps, let's just use an example of a woman who works full time, has, 2 younger kids, and wants to stay in the same school district, but doesn't necessarily want to keep up the house that has the workshop of the former spouse, and the outdoor area, that she's not going to use as much, and financially just can't keep up with it. She may want to consider a lock and leave, townhome in the same school district, close to the park, that she and her kids might be more comfortable in. That's just one scenario. So later in life, same thing. It could be that you have a larger home, for example, and you don't have the help to keep it up anymore, and you don't need a lot of the rooms. So, some people choose to downsize for financial and environmental reasons.
Right. And I even have heard of individuals renting out like a space, like they
Hmm.
can't sell right away. Maybe there's a particular reason they can't sell right away,
Hmm.
market, whatever.
Yeah.
And so they'll rent out, a certain space and then as time goes on, then they do eventually then sell. So there's a lot of ways to be creative about it, but we sometimes get like locked down with the emotional part of it rather than putting on our business hat and thinking this is an asset to us. This is what we can, this is our biggest money maker, really,
Hmm.
usually your home. And not always now because of the market, but a lot of times this is where we have our biggest investment and our biggest return as we get older. So what would you say to help those that are really struggling with the mental part of it? I mean, is there anything you can recommend for them?
Do look at your options. I know two ladies that are both divorced. One has small children, one has children that are just slightly older, like not quite in middle school, but younger elementary school age.
Mhm.
And the one of the gals, wasn't as well off financially as the other, but she still needed a safe place for her children. And it just happened to be her best friend had a basement that had a bathroom and three bedrooms and a little living area. And so she moved into the basement of one of her best friend's homes. And now they share watching each other's children and being there to make sure everything's okay because they're both working. And so they have their private space because it's separated by, different levels and a door, and it has a separate entrance. So they do have privacy when they need it, but they also can depend on each other to defray some of the financial hardship and hardship with someone being there for their children. And so I thought that was a beautiful example of finding a solution to a problem that helped both of them, because the one lady wanted to keep her home and she didn't know if she could swing it unless someone paid some rent.
Wow. Yeah. See, that's what I mean. It's being a little bit creative about it. It doesn't mean that it has to be set in stone forever.
Right.
Like you could rent it out for a certain period of time and then reevaluate it if it's something you want to continue on doing or you don't want
Hmm.
to do.
Hmm.
And so it's good to be able to be a little bit open-minded with it. And we're not like that sometimes. So I think that that's important. So let's talk a little bit more about your wheelhouse method. So you said there were several elements within that. Financial was one of them. What was
Hmm.
another one?
So we have health, we have career, we have romance,
Hmm.
which, now you're a single person, and that's a big different way of living. So we also have environment, family and friends. I think I said finance. And
Yeah.
there's one more, spirituality.
Hmm.
Spirituality, I've gone through a divorce myself, and my spirituality actually rose quite a bit
Hmm.
after that divorce, because I really did push the pause button. I downsized dramatically to just a cute little place where I could reinvent myself. And I found myself waking up with the sunrise and reading more books and really focusing on me in a small space that was very, very nice, but certainly it wasn't high maintenance. I could really focus on myself.
Hmm.
And so I do like to talk about that spirituality peg, because if you do things right and contemplate your current situation, I find that you can rise above, the grief and the heartache of the life change and really become more of yourself.
Right. I agree with that totally. I think too that when we go through challenges to turn to whatever our higher power is
Hmm.
is very, very important and helps
Hmm.
get you through. One thing I was thinking as you were talking is claiming your space, because a lot of times when we get through divorce or a loss of some sort, we feel lost in the house because the space, because it was occupied by someone else, right? And so if we choose to stay in the space or even sell it, and like you said, downsize, get a smaller space,
Hmm.
you're basically claiming your space. And
Hmm.
so you're purchasing something that might be more suitable for you as an individual versus as a couple. But if you stay in the home as a couple, um,
Hmm.
and no longer a couple, that you want to claim your space, meaning that you want to start moving the stuff out,
Hmm.
that your other partner had, and kind of vamping it to suit your needs, to suit what is good, what is comfortable for you. And I went up recently to visit my son. And like I said, he ended up getting the house and the divorce. I come up and I said, this has changed a lot, because even though the furniture and everything that he had was still there, it looked like a man's pad. Him and my grandson, they purchased a truck for my grandson, and they're redoing the truck for him, his first truck. And they're going through that, and there's like parts everywhere, and he's done. And it wasn't in the house. The house was fine, but it was like around, all the boy toys and all this stuff. And I said, okay, your environment has changed, but I'm glad that you're claiming your space.
Yes.
This is now your space, and he liked more the outside space. So he was doing that, working on that. So I thought that was kind of good, but it's part of healing when you do that. And so don't hesitate if you do have to downsize, thinking that it's the end of the world, because it gives you an opportunity to maybe live where you would like to live. Like you said, like a relationship, maybe you want to move into, if you lived out on the outskirts of town, maybe you want to live more closer in where, restaurants and places are that people are doing things, activities, sports, or whatever. Maybe this is an opportunity for you to think about whether what you would like to do and where you would like to live, and the space that you really need that would give you comfort. So I think there's a lot of pluses to it sometimes.
I agree with you very much so, because the way that I wrote my book, the foundation of the principle is your home reflects yourself, like your soul, who you are at your very core. And whether you've lost yourself in relationship and now you're coming back to yourself, or you were in a partnership for quite a long time, that's a whole different identity than being solo. And so your home always should reflect your true self. And so when you do go through a big life change, normally your home has to change too. Even if you stay in the same home. I spoke with someone the other day, or actually it was last week, and she had been divorced for quite some time, but her husband's vinyl record room was still in the basement, and she had not switched it out yet. And I thought, she's such a smart lady. She seems so creative. Couldn't she repurpose that space to better suit her? And we talked about that, what she would do with that space. And she has some creative ideas that she'd like to go, repurpose that. And for some reason, she hadn't repurposed it yet, but I encouraged her to reinvent that space for something that she could use as she was evolving as a person.
That's great. That's great. Because when you walk into someone's home, right? It doesn't matter, if you're divorced or whatever. When you walk into their home, it's a kind of a glimpse of their own personality, the essence of them, right?
Yeah.
And so I know I like color, things like that. I'm actually rooming with my girlfriend, and she is very, everything the same tint, she's it's very pretty. I mean, it's very, very pretty, but everything's the same kind of mono, chromatic type of decorating. And I'm like color, so I'm always throwing color everywhere. So so we're very, very different from each other, but it's kind of fun though. It makes it fun. So I really like that you can, you can actually start reflecting upon yourself. So tell us a little bit about the book you wrote.
Sure. All right. So it's called Live in Your Wheelhouse. And the byline, or the subtitle, is An Empowering Guide to Stay, Go, or Reno. So that not only, it means your house, but it not only means your house, it means your life. So in many cases, we've chosen to make a big change in our life, or that's been put upon us through death or divorce or something we didn't quite ask for, but nonetheless, here we are with our life changing. And so we have to decide, what are we going to change? Are we going to renovate? Are we going to stay and renovate ourselves? Are we going to stay and renovate the home? Are we going to leave and create a new life? Or somewhere in between? And so we have to make, decisions and do a deeper dive as to, what do I want my life to look like? Yes, I've had this change, whether it was chosen or not. How am I going to have my environment reflect that change so I can maximize my potential and my joy and my comfort in my home based on all of these life changes, because you can get stuck in a certain phase of your life, even though it has passed, and not fill that void with something that's going to make you happier.
Absolutely. Wonderfully said. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about your book when we come back. We're going to do a quick break. So when we do, let's talk a little bit more about it. You can give us maybe some few tips from the book that people can take with them. But I love it. And I think you're a very unique individual, because you not only help them through, I think, a difficult time, because selling your house, no matter if you're going through anything or not, is difficult. I mean, it's always a hard thing to do and buying a house is a hard thing to do because we get caught up in the emotional aspect of it because it really touches on our finances, and our finances really create, make it break it situation for us sometimes. So, it's really nice to have someone like you that has a lot of experience, not only experience, but you are the top of what you do. So we're really pleased to have you with us here today. You are the top 5% realtor, and that says a lot. And if you're in the Atlanta area, there's a lot of homes in Atlanta. So that says a lot for you, Kim. So we want to thank you so much for being with us. So we're going to take a quick break. But before we do, I want you guys to know how to get a hold of Kim. Send her an email at Kim Lifestyle Foundations, that's with the plural, .com, and then her website is lifestylefoundations.com. That's lifestyle, LIFESTYLE, and then foundations, FOUNDATIONS.com. So make sure that you check out her website, check out, all of that she has there on the information for you, and then read her book. We're going to talk about the book, but I think you guys need to go buy the book. It's at Amazon, right? Am I correct?
It will be on Amazon very shortly. I do have a pre-order page on my website, and the actual order page should be up in about 2 weeks.
All right. So I think this is definitely a book we all need to put in our library. So for sure. So you want to reach out to her, but go to the lifestylesfoundations.com, and then you can pre-order the book, which I think is important to do that. And that would be great. So we'll be right back. You guys are listening to newstreamingnetwork.com. We want to thank you so much for listening to Going Solo Life Transitions. I am Cece Shatz. You're listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, our radio station, and we'll be right back, everyone. So hang tight. Hello, everyone. You're listening to Going Solo Life Transitions. This is New Streaming Network on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, radio, TV, and podcast. We are home of Going Solo Media, Going Bold Media, and we are actually the #1 internet singles talk network. We want to thank you out there for making that happen for us. I am Cece Shatz, your host here today. I am fondly called the Doyenne of Relationship Building. I'm a divorce, dating, life, and a media coach, and I want to thank you for joining us here today. Our topic is, should you keep the house? Finding your foundation after divorce. We have wonderful Kim Costa here with us. She's a realtor. She is in the top 5%, and she's located in the Atlanta area. So that says a lot for who she is. And she has a wonderful book coming out. We're going to talk about that. That's in 2 weeks. It's going to be out. You can pre-order it right on her website, which is lifestylefoundations.com. So go to our website, order the book, really support the people that we have here. It really means a great deal to not only myself, but all that are here on the network. We do appreciate you for being your supportive self. So want to thank you for that. So the first part of the show, we talked a lot about, like if you would have to move, the finances, some of those things. And there were some really good tips in there. So if you are in this transition state, you might want to go back, and I hope you do, encourage you to go back and listen to the first part of it. But we're going to talk a little bit more about our book, because Kim is more than just a realtor. I really think I want to say you're like a realtor coach, right? Because you
Yeah.
really do help them, not only with the whole aspect of the financial part of it, because I'm sure you have, individuals that you can refer to them that helps them with the financing. You probably have attorneys and a realtor attorneys that you can help. They can help them with, doing various different things with regards to being creative on selling the home or purchasing a home or whatever. I mean, there's all kinds of different things like life estates. There's, parenting plans and things like that that can be incorporated with regards to it. So you can help them with that. But you're also there to kind of help them as a sounding board to try to figure out what is this next transition for them? What is this next move? And I love the idea that you really gave of yourself to write a book that would kind of put all of this kind of together for them and create, and I love what you say, the wheelhouse method, create a method that you can kind of break it down into, bite-sized pieces that you can kind of, really think about and kind of dissect and see how it's going to work for not only yourself, but your family and take it from there. So tell us a little bit more about this book and about, maybe some of the steps that someone could take as they want to move forward.
Sure. So I am a generalist, I'm matching the home with the ideal lifestyle of the person. And just I'm providing hopefully clarity in each of these areas of the person's life as to what the ideal outcome would look like going forward. Not 10 years in the past or what used to be, but how you want your life to look going forward. And, those options that you have, just clarifying what are the options that you have and what would you like to choose. So I'm a generalist today. I met with attorneys and wealth managers just regarding, trusts and next steps for people. I'm not a specialist, but I know specialists in that area and can point you in the right direction as to financially, have you made a budget? Have you made a net worth statement? And what does your budget look like now versus what it did in your prior situation? So I can ask clarifying questions to point you in the right direction, and then, make suggestions as to perhaps you need a trust attorney, et cetera, or someone to read over the will, or, that kind of specialist help. So I pride myself in having good resources there. But the book just goes over generally the 8 areas of how your life has changed, because usually when we're moving or renovating, something's changed in our life, or when we're renovating, we've moved into a home knowing it's not exactly perfect, but I'm going to tweak a few things. So along with life change comes the questions we need to ask ourselves about what are the pain points that I'm feeling right now in my life, because my life has changed. It doesn't look the same as it used to. So now through each of these 8 areas, you ask specific questions going up Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So physiological needs are, very basic: water, food, do I sleep well, that kind of a thing. Right. Then you go to safety. Do I feel safe in my home and in my community? Is there love and belonging? Now, if you're going solo, perhaps some of that has dissipated. So how can you fill some of those voids with community or friendship or even a new relationship, either now or down the road, those possibilities. So you just go around each area of that wheel of life and ask questions to, help yourself improve each area and giving yourself a real clear picture of where you are now and what it could look like for you. What is your ideal lifestyle?
Very good. Yeah, because I think when we're going through this transition, it's very, very important for us to take a pause and really start thinking about things. Everything is moving so quickly as we're going through, some of these stages of divorce or loss, and there's things we have to get done. There's timelines. There's all this, but the reality is this is our life, and so we have to sometimes slow it down a little bit to try to really stop and think about what it is that we do want, because we want to make the right decisions. Now, that doesn't mean that later on down the road, you may decide, let's say you purchase a home or something, and you may decide, nah, this isn't really where I want to live, or I really want to do that. That's fine. You can sell it. you can always change things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's important to take the time and have the opportunity to take that space. And we don't realize it until we've got something material to look at sometimes. So I think the book is really a great asset for individuals to be able to look at and say, okay, yeah, what about this area here? I didn't think about this. Don't you agree?
Yeah. And part of the process is also, there's a wheelhouse assessment. There's, sheets that you grade each area of your current life. And then there's another sheet where you write notes to what's wrong with that now and how would you like it to change. And so you may not have a partner to do that with anymore. So just kind of journaling and mulling over the answers to these questions and even bringing it to your realtor or, joining. I'll have workshops coming up soon. Just having a process to put down your thoughts and organize them so that it becomes more clear. And even if you had someone to bounce these ideas off of, it's just right there on paper, and you can't escape the thoughts about all these areas once you've written them down. And so it helps you address them and fix anything that needs fixing going forward.
Yeah, I really do appreciate that, because I know that when I was going through my own divorce and everything, it was there was a lot of elements that I never did before. You did it. I never did that. And when I went to go buy a car, I was so overwhelmed. I mean, there's so many different cars. How do I know? How do I pick out which one I want? I mean, financially,
Yeah. Well, wouldn't it be helpful if there was a manual to say, this is how you go buy a car? Because I don't do well buying a car either. I do great buying a home. I know exactly what I'm doing. So this is sort of like a manual to say, don't overlook this area and get, before you make a financial plan, make a budget and do a net worth statement and consider this and that. And so it does kind of lead you through each of the 8 areas. So you don't fix one area and then another area is not so good.
Right. Absolutely. And the thing is like change, right? We don't like change. All of us, we're always saying we don't want to change. We don't, we like everything to kind of stay even keeled. We like to stay the same. But I will share with you that sometimes change and the transition and the journey of that transition can be very exciting, right? Because it's choices, And we shouldn't allow choices to overwhelm us. We should really embrace them and savor the time that we have to make the choices. So everyone, if you are really thinking about what should you do with your home, where should you live? What, do I need to downsize? Do I need to stay in the house? Do I need to rent it out? Maybe I can't sell it and I need to rent it out and downsize. There's so many different scenarios that you can do that Kim can definitely help you with.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And one of the fun stories, so I do success stories in the book, like what does it look like to make a change in this area? And there's a gal named Lila. And she's gotten divorced and she keeps running into her former partner and his new flame. And so she's not even sure. She doesn't even like doing the activities in the big city. And so she ends up moving to Colorado, where she likes to be very outdoorsy. So sometimes it even boils down to, do you kind of need to reinvent yourself if you have that capability? And maybe it's just moving to another side of town or a neighboring city or another state even. And within means doing a little bit of a reinvention, something that you hadn't tried before, just to see if it works. And that might look like renting somewhere for 10 days to see if you might like that town. And then go to the store that you might go to, whatever you like to do. If you like to go to the gym or there's a bookstore, or you want a co-working space, just kind of go try out some different areas before you make that big decision. So that's a very helpful tip, when you are going through a big life transition, such as divorce or death of a partner or whatever that may be. Moving is one of the top 3 stressors that you could ever encounter. So think really strongly before you go all in on that decision, because adding on to the stress that you are already experiencing, you may want to take a little bit of a longer timeline and do some investigating, because moving I've moved a lot, so just take my word. I've moved since I got divorced. I think I've moved 6 times, and it's been 12 years. So it could be stressful moving, and I felt like the moves solved an issue, but they are also very stressful times, physically, emotionally, financially. It's not inexpensive to move. So take your time, do the deep dive, examine all the areas, and try that little lifestyle out if you can before you make the big jump.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. Maybe it's ways that, like, if you've dreamt that you wanted to go live somewhere, maybe start taking your vacations there.
Yeah, pick an Airbnb similar to the home that you might eventually purchase there, and maybe even rent there for 6 months after you try it out. See what you like.
That would be a great idea. Idea. Yeah, because Atlanta's pretty cool. It's a cool city. So and there's so many. I was talking actually with my ex-husband about it, and he moved to a little bit further north of Atlanta, and he said he really likes it. There's a lot of little areas, outside of Atlanta that are really nice. So
and they all have their own little personalities. Like there's a little horse country north of here. There's a little artsy town to my west, and to the east, it's kind of bougie. So each little town has its own personality. It's great to go check them out.
Yeah, so treat it as an adventure, right? Treat it as an adventure, and that you are in the driving seat. So you don't have to do anything you don't want to do. So just know that, and you can get great advice. You can contact Kim, and I'll show her information. You can email her at kim@lifestylefoundations.com, and that's lifestylefoundations.com, which is her website. It's LIFESTYLEFOUNDATIONS. Make sure you get that S on there, .com. So we want you to definitely reach out to her. So any last words? We're going to have to probably wrap up the show, but it's so much. I mean, I know there's so much information with regards to the home, and you've gone over and above, I think, writing the book that is really going to change and help people make that transition. So again, go to our website. It's coming up in a couple weeks. You can pre-order the book, so you can be one of the first ones to get it, which would be great. And but any last words you'd like to share with us?
I really 2 things. I really love people in different stages of life, and hearing their stories and imagining the potential for more joy and comfort in their lives, because that just really strikes a chord with me. So I really hope the book helps people find more comfort and joy in their lives. It was hard going solo, and I never thought that I would be in that position. I was in for life, and sometimes things happen that we don't expect, and you have to rebound. And I really found a lot of solace in reading books and listening to podcasts that helped me get through that phase of life. And I'm happy to return the favor and pay it forward.
Oh, that's wonderful. So tell us again where your office is located, the name of your office and everything.
Sure. So I'm in Alpharetta, Georgia, and I'm in my office is in a place called Avalon, and it's Atlanta Fine Homes. That's my real estate office. And my home office is here in a neighboring little city called Crabapple, which is about 5 miles away. So it's just a nice, cute little area. If you're coming into town, I could give you some pointers on where to go.
Okay, sounds great. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. We so loved having you. And it is a hard subject, should you keep the house, and finding your foundation after divorce. And that's what we're talking with today, Kim Costa, to talk about that, the very difficult subject. So thank you so much for being with us here today. And again, you're the creator of the Wheel House Method, and your book is going to be out in a couple weeks, so we can pre-order it and definitely get that. I think that would help it. And if you know somebody that's going through this transition, buy the book for them and give it to them. It would be a wonderful gift. So don't hesitate helping someone else along the way. So, all right, everyone, we're going to have to wrap up the show. It goes by so fast. You guys are listening to newstreamingnetwork.com, home of Going Solo Media, Going Bold Media, and our wonderful radio station, WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. I am your host here today. I am Cece Shatz. I would love to hear from you. If you'd like to reach out to me, I answer all my emails directly. Just go to goingsolonetwork@gmail.com. Going Solo Network at gmail.com. My personal website is Going Solo Network, and I am the founder of the newstreamingnetwork.com, which is our media for the Going Solo Network. So thank you so much for joining us. And I just love being with you each and every time. And don't hesitate letting us know how you're feeling, what you're going through, and how we can help you, because that's what we're here for. This show is called Going Solo Life Transitions. And let me tell you, we are definitely going through transitions. So we want to keep going, keep positive, and really, live the life that we want, that we choose, right? So thank you again, Kim. We appreciate you, and I hope you'll come back on and join us some other time. All right, then. Bye, everyone.